Do you want to slate it?
I don't remember how.
Bay movie. Las Vegas, living in Las Vegas as nomads. Scene 1, take 1.
One. Action.
So this video is going to be about our experience over the last year living in Las Vegas as digital nomads. We're doing this video together, and we still remains to be seen how involved Jesse wants to be in this channel, because it was my idea, but we also travel together, so we're going to see how that goes. But I told you I didn't want to make it like a Chris Watts situation where you were just like, I was filming you against your will and you were like secretly resentful and then you kill our whole family. That's not funny. I don't know why that's... Yeah, that's not what we're here to talk about. So I guess you could introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Jesse. I'm a software engineer. I work remotely, which was kind of the start of our, or at least my digital nomading, traveling, and working. That's my identity, I guess.
Nice. So I feel like it was Jesse's idea originally to come back to the U.S. We were living in Puerto Rico at the time, which is part of the U.S., but it's not a state. So his work was weird about that. There was like, we are trying to follow both like the laws in terms of like taxes, but also kind of the corporate regulations and his job. You want to talk about that at all?
Right. Yeah. I remember. I remember when we went to Puerto Rico that at the time I was working for a small startup company that wasn't as strict or didn't care as much about like where the employees were based. But that startup was acquired by a much larger company, which has much more regulations, much more things they need to keep an eye on. And so, yeah, that was, I think, the biggest motivation for us to move back from Puerto Rico, since they weren't able to employ me like legally there, to somewhere in the U.S. Because I think when we went to Puerto Rico, like our intention, assuming that we liked it, we were there for 6 months and would have been to like have residency there, but
Maybe.
Maybe. True. We traveled a few different places in the Southwest looking for like an area to try to settle and make a new home base that we could travel from, including Los Angeles, Albuquerque, New Mexico, which I think was mostly my idea, and Las Vegas, Nevada, which is where we are right now.
Nice. You're talking so much more than I thought you were going to, and now I feel like I'm not going to talk enough.
I figured you could edit it to whatever.
No, we're just going straight, like I'm not even editing this.
Okay.
I was going to say the idea when we went to Puerto Rico is because they offer some kind of, there's a tax incentive to live there if you have a business. So that was, I think, originally why you like got the idea to go there as well. And Nevada also has tax incentives, being a tax-free state. So we were comparing it with like the other states that have no state income tax, which I always forget what all of them are, but I think it's like Alaska, Washington, Florida, New Hampshire, I think either North Dakota or South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas. Was there another one?
Yeah, I think so.
Did you have anything to say about that?
No, yeah, I know when we...
Oh, wait, Wyoming.
Wyoming.
How could we forget Wyoming?
Yeah.
I thought about moving there as well, though.
Right, yeah.
Even though it would be weird.
To be cowboys.
Cowboys, yeah, we would be cowboys.
Wyoming. I know when we were originally looking for a place in the U.S. to settle down, I think I created a spreadsheet of all the different cities and different places we were thinking about, and like looked at all these different variables, which is I think how I like to make decisions, since I'm like very try to make I guess more rational or logical, or that's the way I just approach decision making, is to try to break it down. I think some of the factors were tax rate, but also just general cost of living, number of days of sunshine, like political demographics.
Was that in there?
Yeah, it was like basically like
blue
how red or blue. Yeah, the city was.
But now my life is based in this weird like AI way of like making decisions, because I was like, no, you're supposed to just go with your intuition and like go towards what really makes you happy, or like what you think would make you happy in life, and like just feel it out. And you go to a place and you feel like some sort of magic about it, which I feel like I kind of felt that when we first came to Las Vegas. But I think that that's the honeymoon experience of coming and visiting Las Vegas, which is totally different from living there. And I read a lot of like Reddit advice, which I thought the people at the time were like really negative and snobby, because they were like, nobody here has any class, like it's all trash people and like all this. I was like, you're just like bougie, snobby. And now I say, like, maybe not that, but like I can kind of understand where they were coming from. Because yeah, there's basically like the tourist experience in the Strip and like Fremont Street, and then everything else is like the people and like the real life. And it's like just such a stark contrast. Like I remember coming from the Strip like early on, even we would be out doing stuff like, and I rarely go there, people who live here rarely go to the Strip, but like coming back from there and being like feeling like you almost came down off of a drug, because you're like, I don't know if you felt like that, but like then coming back to, and we would live like 10 minutes away from it, but just like, oh, it's back to real, like the real life. And it's just kind of like, wah, wah. Like it doesn't feel like, living here doesn't feel like you're on vacation here all the time. I think like living in Mexico and Puerto Vallarta felt more like that. Like you could be like on vacation, or you would just like be on the beach. You would just like get off of work and like be walking on the beach, and you'd be like, I'm on vacation. But I don't know, I don't feel that as much here. But California is one of the highest, and that's where we first came back, and we were planning on spending 6 months there. And then we realized, like, if we really wanted to play by the books, like you are supposed to be taxed like every single day you're in California, which is good because they can use it to fund social programs and that kind of thing. Like I feel like I sound kind of like a jerk, like trying to evade, like when we talk about this, like we're trying to evade taxes, but really we're trying to save money for retirement over like this few year period, and then like not have to worry as much about it and just be able to live wherever. But yeah, we went to LA, and then you talked to like a nomadic financial advisor, which I didn't know existed until then, but they were like, don't live in California. Like they only cared about the financial element. They were like, don't, if you're a nomad, like it doesn't make sense to be based in California. But we knew a couple who, they had a business based in California, and she was employed through that business and seemed to do well that way. So I don't know. I think it depends on your circumstances, but I didn't even know, like you were the one who found out about all of this. I didn't even think through things like that before.
Right. Yeah, I think when I was thinking about those things, I was, sort of like thinking about the overall cost of living for different areas, because, I feel like I was mentioning right before we started, like I do feel some tension, I guess, with like wanting to take care of us and our future, and also contribute back, like, fairly to society and help social programs develop the area. And I think Las Vegas probably, or Nevada generally, probably suffers a little bit because of the lack of taxes. I mean, they tax a lot of other things like casinos and hotel industry, and that's where they get a lot of their tax revenue, I think. But like, for example, I think their education system is second worst in the country, Nevada generally. So you definitely see the impact of some of those things, and it can make those places like a less desirable place to live and lower quality of life even for you personally. And so there's some definite tension there, but I think for us, like thinking about our goals and where we wanted to be, like for the short term, like focusing on like achieving those seemed to make sense to us. And we're also, again, trying to find a place where we could establish a home and travel from. And so like when you're traveling a lot, like not even living in that place, then like where you pay taxes and set up shop is a little bit different. I feel like, or the way you think about it is a little bit different because you're not as invested in that community, perhaps. I don't know. Yeah. I'm just thinking out loud.
Which is weird because it's like, I live here, but only on paper. And I know there's people that do that. And I've saw some videos, like people that live like either van life or like trailers. And this guy was like, oh, it was really easy to just get residency in Nevada. Like there's certain steps because it's pretty easy. I mean, we were here, like we both got a driver's license within the first couple. Now I'm like, were we allowed to do that? I think you just move here, you have an address, and we had an Airbnb address, so it wasn't really that hard.
We were living, yeah.
Yeah, we were living there, but I think in California they consider you a resident after a year. I don't know, it depends. Like, you don't need driver's license isn't the same as residency, I guess. But
true.
Anyways, but that's what some of these other videos were focused on. But we've actually lived here for the last year, a little over a year now. And we're about to leave to go to South America for the next few months. And so just reflecting on this last year and like, was it worth it? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I think this experience of living here for a year has been interesting. I'm happy that we did it. Like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's things I like about it, things I don't. Like, if I was, it's not my favorite place. I feel like I'm kind of on the fence in terms of, like, continuing to stay here longer now that we've, gotten a good feel for, like, what it's like living here and, like, what to expect. And, yeah, it just doesn't feel right. And so, which I guess is, maybe in contrast to thinking about all the different variables, like, but also, like, feeling is important. And I think when we traveled initially and, like, spent, like, that month in Albuquerque and Las Vegas and Los Angeles, like, we, like, of those three, at least in Las Vegas, like, it did have good vibes. Like, it felt good when we spent that month here, I felt like, and that was a big contributor to the reason to try to live here for a year. And but your point about the honeymoon period is important. Like, maybe we were still in that period, and then maybe once you get 3 months, 6 months, like, that's when you it starts to become a little bit more real. Things are more familiar, and there's not this sort of novelty around all of it.
Speaking of honeymoon, we did get married when we first moved here, which I feel like if I mention taxes with that, it just sounds like terrible. But that was something that we looked into too. It was like the tax, like, we were like, does it count for the whole, like, basically you can get married on New Year's Eve and it counts for that entire year, like, prior to that. Right. So we got married like right before the end of the year because we knew we wanted to anyways. Right. And we could have waited till the next year, but you were like, I don't see any reason to wait. It's so romantic.
When you put it like that, that's true. I mean, I think we had decided we were going to get married regardless, and so, like, to me, there didn't seem to be a ton of point in waiting, I guess, and there was an advantage to doing it sooner, so that's why I think we did the ceremony sooner, like, even, like, we had decided and talked and, like, decided we were going to get married, like, a few months before that. So,
a few months engagement's normal, right? I don't know. That sounds weird.
I don't know.
Well, if you just started dating a few months before, that's different.
Right. Yeah, we've been
You're
together.
Like, we met and then, like...
No,
we met, like, 6 years before that.
Right. So we've been together for a while already.
Yeah. It's normal, right? It's normal.
I think it's fine. I think it's normal. But I mean, this is also, like, we just, I think
what were you gonna say?
Well, I think it was like we had discussed, like, whether or not to do, like, a big ceremony and all those things, and I think we decided just to do it with just the two of us, at least for now. Well, and the photographer and the officiant, like, for now, and then decide if we want to do something bigger later. Lots of factors, like,
it's elopement style, right. Even though we lived here, so it was like you're eloping to the place you live. So that was kind of interesting too.
Right, yeah. No, it was.
I don't know where to start, because it's all, I can just, like, edit it together, but I don't know. Right. I'm like, does it matter what order I go in when I'm talking? It's just like...
Yeah, you can always switch things around,
I guess. But what if it was during the daytime and the sun's setting, or that's like in reality TV, someone has like a cup of coffee and then it's like gets higher later in the scene or whatever, but like this is all going to stay the same, hopefully. You're going to look more and more tired.
Over here this time.
Well, I felt bad because it wasn't like, it didn't have as prominent of a place in this video.
Yeah.
Jesse got me this. I think it's going to come to Peru.
Mm-hmm.
It's houseplant.
Yeah.
It's very easy to take care of. Now it's going to look weird because I put that. Back. That's the whole point of what we're talking about.
You can put it back. Yes.
Now it's going to be moved.
Yeah, continuity.
Okay. So some of the cons of living here, we talked about a little, but some of the cons, like what you were saying, like that, and maybe it's related to not having a state income tax, but just like social services, like even healthcare, education, all those things are just a very poor quality compared to, I think, what we're used to living in bigger cities, or just, I mean, honestly, even like developing countries, I've seen better health. Like in Mexico, we received much better health care than in Las Vegas. Like it's just almost like the land that time forgot in terms of like certain services that just everyone should have the right to have and should have a good quality. And yeah, like that. And then the education, like you said, is like one of the lowest rankings in the country, like for K through 12, not even just like the university. So, I mean, I can't really recommend moving here with kids. Like, I'm surprised when I learned that people do that, because like my neighbor moved from somewhere in inland California, and I've heard a lot of Californians are moving to Nevada, and there's a big thing with like hating Californians here. I identify as Californian because I lived over like 14 years in the Bay Area. It's longer than that's the longest I've lived anywhere in my adult life, even though I'm from Ohio. So when they're like, it hurts, it gets me right here when they're like, go back to California. And I'm like, I wish I could. I'm just trying to save money. Like a lot of people just like, they're like, I want to come here and save money and maybe go back or whatever. But like that neighbor was like, okay, this was another thing I want to talk, just like, we were just talking about this, like when you first meet people, sometimes they just like go really deep into these like sob stories about their lives and like really overshare like these really traumatic stories. And we just met somebody, it was Christmas this weekend, we met this girl in the park who seemed pretty cool, but like as she talked more, it was like she started, this was over the course of like 15 minutes, and she told us that like her boyfriend had like for Valentine's Day like basically given her a bullet in her foot, and it was still in there, and she took her shoes and socks off and she showed us this bullet that was like sticking out of her foot. And she said she didn't want to go to the doctor because she said she went there and they were like, it'll just work its way out like a splinter.
Right.
And that didn't happen. Yeah. Like, speaking of healthcare, so it was just like, and then she was like, I just got off of hard drugs. And like, I don't know, it was just like a lot of, like, I meet a lot of people that have like those kinds of issues. And our neighbor was telling me how he's like, he goes, I try not to hit my kids too much. Like something close to that. He was like, I try not to. So like, I've never called 911 and CPS as much in my life as I have here. And mostly for other people's sake, like because like other people were in like situations where they needed help or whatever. But it was like, wow, there's a lot of social issues that are unaddressed in this area. And people seem to really keep to themselves. Like the neighbors here, when I'll say hi, they won't even say anything back in the complex. And like, when you're that isolated from your community, you can get into worse situations, like where you don't have the support of your community, and there's no sense of community here. Like it's very, you have to drive to get everywhere, and like there's not a lot of public transportation and that kind of thing. But there's also like just like not a lot of like camaraderie, or there was this thing called like Vegas Strong, like, and during the pandemic they're like, we're Vegas Strong, but it was like that was kind of just like a gimmick, and like nothing really came out of it. Like I don't know, it's also very transient, like people just come and go, like both for tourism and for, I don't know, just, I don't really know why other people move, like certain jobs, or like a lot of people, like I met people that they had like gambling's a big reason, like they want to come and try to be like a professional gambler, or like there's people that come to play poker seasonally. That was like in our Airbnb, the host said they had rented it out for like poker season, and that's stuff like that. Like we don't gamble, or I mean you did a little bit, but I never did. Right. So all the things people do here, like I don't really relate to, but it's fun. Like it's great to have a place to go out and just like, you can have a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun stuff to do, a lot of nightlife. Like I like the nightlife stuff. I think you like the nature maybe a bit more. A lot of good nature here and hiking. Right.
Yeah. I mean nightlife. Yeah, I mean, which is, I guess more your thing, but I mean, there's, a lot of fun things to do. It is kind of like, I feel like you mentioned at one point, like the Disneylandification of Vegas, like there's like a amusement park feel to it when you're on this trip, and other areas like Fremont Street and other areas of the city, as well. And then because of that, there's also like great world-class restaurants, stuff like that, which are here as well. I don't know. Not like every restaurant is world-class, but there's like famous chefs have their restaurants here.
Yeah, but tell about the proposal story. Oh wait, we had more things to talk. Can I tell the story? Because I was like, we decided to get married, and then I was like, I want to propose. Like, we both wanted to propose to each other because we would both have that experience. And then you chose like a really great restaurant. Not that they're not paying for this, but it's called Mizumi, and that's the best restaurant I've been to here, and it's Japanese. But anyways, and then I went to like the Wolfgang Puck restaurant, like the one of that. I don't know, they have a bunch, but then like I was like, I wrote in the thing like the special, like, oh, it's like a proposal dinner, and I like, you know, you can write special like requests or whatever, but I was like trying to like in the midst of like reading this like proposal thing to him, and they kept coming over and interrupting, like they didn't recognize that was what was like, they didn't read the note, I guess. And then they ended up bringing you, what did they bring you?
Birthday? I think it was a birthday. I want to say it was a birthday thing.
Birthday cake.
Right.
With like candles, and they started singing happy birthday because they like saw me giving him a gift
card,
and couldn't think it could possibly be a proposal like to a man, even though it was already, it just was like so all over the place.
Yeah. So maybe that was an exception. Yeah, I mean the service there was no, I mean it was fine. A little disorganized, I guess.
But I felt bad you didn't have that great experience. Like that was your proposal dinner, and but it was kind of funny. It was also like your birthday. That was kind of fun, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You didn't know it was going to be your birthday that day.
Right. That makes a good story.
Yeah, but a lot of things here are like that. Like what you expect, like customer service or service wise, like you don't always get that the same as other areas. But I will say, I think people here are very nice. Like people here are like pretty real and like laid back and nice, comparing like to LA where it's like not really like that. Like people are friendly, but I personally, and I think maybe me too, like we haven't really related to a lot of the people here, and which makes me feel like I don't really belong here. Like I can have conversation, connect, but yeah, and then some people are flaky, or some people, I don't know. It's just
it's
been hard to connect.
Yeah, I think it's been more difficult. It's been more difficult connecting and finding community and friends here. I mean, I think for me, this is also the first time I think I've tried like moving to, like I moved to San Francisco. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and so like moving to San Francisco was like my first big move. That's a big city, obviously. There's lots of things going on. Lots of culture and opportunities to meet people, and so I felt like I had an easier time there. Moving to Vegas when you don't already have a network here, maybe like it's like, I don't know, maybe it just feels like more like it's a mid-sized city, and like mid-sized cities, and I don't know, people usually just keep to themselves or something. It's less vibrant, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. Guessing. What's another comparable sized city to here? Like, is Nashville? Because we were going to talk about the other cities that we would have. So with the other, you know, income tax free states, if you're a nomad, if you're not going to spend all the year there, or even if you are going to stay there for a longer time, we looked at Austin. This is going to sound like a stupid reason, not like we were like, I thought that would be really cool and would be more fitting, especially because the tech scene there for you. But apparently there's like really terrible allergies there throughout the year. And I'm just like really sensitive to a lot of things like physically. And I just like, I don't know. I talked to a friend who like got one of the allergies from going to college there, and I don't know which one it was. There's like ragweed is one of it just makes me feel like I have allergies just saying that, like ragweed.
Yeah, and they had like 3 allergy seasons or something like that.
Like the whole year is like something blooming for, I don't know. So they made it sound like you're just going to be ill and you needed to get like shots to not have allergies or things like, I don't know. I was just like, oh, there's already like a health problem with it. And then also the fact that like, I mean, we're progressive, so living in a conservative state like that, it's like, if we wanted to go anywhere outside of the city, like, it would be very different for us, and I don't know, I mean, we've lived in areas that are more conservative, and I can definitely have conversations with people who have conservative viewpoints, but, I mean, that's just not what I ultimately relate to, or, like, I don't know, want for my home, so, and that's the same thing with Florida, because we're still interested in Miami. Like, I just really would love to live somewhere with that tropical weather. I really liked Mexico and the Latin American influence there and being able to speak more Spanish and that kind of thing. But it seems like yeah, I mean, Florida's like really conservative. Like even here, like I'm in the process of like changing my ID to be just a gender neutral instead of having male or female, you can have like an X, and you're allowed to do that in Nevada. In Florida, you're not. So, like, if I had that in my ID, like, I would have to go back and put like female in the ID, which is something I don't really want to have to do. And I don't. It's more about like, do you want to live in a place where people think like that, or and then with Roe versus Wade, like a lot of the abortion laws being changed, like you see the difference. It's almost like a whole bunch of different countries. So, also in like Wyoming, I mean, there's so much cheap land out there. Like you can build tiny homes and just do whatever, Airbnb and that kind of thing. But it's like, are you going to feel at home there? You know, just really like, I was going to say, it just depends on what you're into and what your interests are and who you are. Like you can't really tell anyone else what's going to work for them. So you can only know and get advice. But I do feel like the advice I hear about places, usually it's true. What I hear people say about a place, like not always though, because I moved to Santa Cruz and this guy was like, it's the most feminist town in the country. But as a man, he didn't know how much street harassment women face there, I guess, because that was like one of the worst places for it. So I had to go there myself and realize that. And I still loved living there. It was still like, it's one of my favorite places, but you can't know until you actually go and spend time. So it's weird because it's hard. You can't, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go visit for a year. And that's what we're doing now. We're like, I'll just try living somewhere for a year, you know, because you can't even know from 1 month. Before it was like, try for a month. And before that, you might go for like a weekend or a week, especially back when people only worked like in their physical realm and there wasn't so much remote work and that kind of thing. So I don't know. It's weird. It might sound weird. It's like we're spending our whole lives like trying to find the perfect place that's like the right home. Maybe we already found it. Like maybe we should go back to the Bay Area, but it's still nice to explore and like see like the world through this way. And it's like, it still feels like we're traveling even more like living somewhere.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, that's true. And those just make me think like, in terms of like, as we talked about coming here for a month to feel it out and like having a different experience living here than what we thought it might have been just from that month. And so, yeah, I guess I was thinking like, what is a good time range to like spend somewhere to get enough of a feel to like commit to a longer time frame? I'm not sure. Maybe 3 months. 6 months for sure. I don't know, maybe 3 months would be enough to get like over the honeymoon phase and like get more of a feel for it. I definitely felt like we got that in Puerto Rico, and that was 6 monts. I think we could have gotten it probably sooner, like more of a feel for it. But
yeah, because it was for me, because culture shock really hits for me after 1 month. But like, what about you? Are you like?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. I think 3 months does feel right to me as like maybe gets you past that honeymoon period, and then you start to get a more of a feel for what that long-term experience could be like. You figure out where all the different areas are, like what the people are like. You can go to some meetups, some events. You can like get more of a feel for the city.
See, I'm missing all this stuff, but behind the scenes, I should just be rolling the whole time. What were we saying? Like, this is the real video. This is not I'm gonna just be recording the whole thing from now on.
Okay.
Our whole lives.
No.
I got the, because you got me the GoPro, thank you so much. They got the, this harness, I can wear it, so it's recorded. They like do that dog. In the video. It was, like the dog, yes. No, it's for people too, but no, because I noticed in other YouTube videos, they wear them. Okay. I use my powers of... I was just persuasion. That's not what I meant to say. Like, use my powers of deduction to note that. But you can wear it on your head too. Right. So you could we could go spelunking. That's when you go in a cave, I think.
And I was saying the internet here, which to talk about that, because we thought that would be important or interesting for Nomad.
I'm going to cut this part out.
Okay. People traveling. Anyway, the internet, it's been fine. I mean, I work from home primarily, and we have like Cox Internet, which was, like you pointed out, through our apartment management, which, I don't know how typical that is. It's the first time I've lived in like a apartment building. Usually lived in smaller things where it's been...
You're like a...
like a...
Just, the coffins in Neuromancer. You just like, you have to be lying down the whole time. Like, this is my first experience in a real apartment. Finally left San Francisco, they gave me a whole apartment.
Right, yeah, I used to live in some guy's closet, and yeah.
You never told me that.
No, the internet here has been, it's been fine. Yeah, I was comparing it with San Francisco. I had a small internet provider called Monkey Brains, which I do recommend because it's small.
And they're not even paying you. You're getting ready for all the endorsements you're going to get.
Yeah.
Just talking about a bunch of
small
brands.
Independent internet provider in San Francisco that uses antennas.
You're just talking like I'm not talking over you, and now it's going to look terrible. Wait till
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're like, really? That's like a rule of podcasts I heard, that you're not supposed to talk at the same time.
Yes.
I don't know if it applies to YouTube or not. Let's find out.
But
I was the one talking over you.
Right.
And you were like, just kept talking like I wasn't there. Like it was gonna make the audio of me talking go away.
Yeah, I worked mostly from home, but went to the coffee shops like a few times here, just for various reasons. But
what were the various reasons?
I don't know. I was dropping the car off to get repaired, so I went nearby. So yeah, there were. I mean, I do recommend if you're just visiting and want to work from like a coffee shop, like going to the Main Street area is pretty. Like, there's a few. At least a few coffee shops there that have nice patios right on Main Street. So it's usually, I don't know, feels pretty vibrant, I guess, or a good energy around it. Like, people walking around, going to shops, like, feels a little bit more like what I remember in San Francisco, or living in like an area that's more walkable, I guess.
Is that downtown?
Right, yeah, that's by Fremont. By Fremont Street, but yeah, it's just called Main Street if I remember right, and it just goes, because we walked there when we went to the Arts First Friday. I remember we walked from First Friday down to Main Street where they had all the bars, and we were walking around there, but during the day there's coffee shops and other things going on down there, but that seemed like a good area, and I found a couple of other coffee shops like Grouchy John's? Grouchy something, which is also, it seemed like a local place, has really comfortable chairs, like actual sofas you can sit on.
You didn't tell me about this place.
Yeah, I think it was Grouchy John's. So yeah, I had been going there for a little while, but yeah, it's also another place you can check out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a WeWork here, I think, but I had never gone to it. So I have no comment.
It's not like we're just in the middle of the desert. Well, kind of.
Right.
Okay, I forgot to talk about this. I was going to say something that I recently learned, and it took me several decades of life to learn this, that you shouldn't live near an airport. It's like really bad for your health, apparently, and there was like a study with LAX that like within 10 miles radius of an airport, you would experience all kinds of health problems. And Las Vegas is built and set up in a way where this airport is right in the city. So I can't recommend like living in most of the city because it is within that radius. And a lot of it in the Paradise, ironically entitled Paradise, this area that's kind of unincorporated and technically not part of Las Vegas, the city, but that's where the Strip is located. It's basically right next to the airport. We've been living within about a mile and a half of the airport for the year, and I really hope I don't grow like another farm. Like, I don't know, just, there was that short film about people in LA living near high tension wires and they were growing like extra heads and stuff like that. But no, like, it can cause cancer and asthma and cardiovascular diseases, and I feel so bad for the people here with kids, like, that are, like, if you grow up around that, think of all of those years, and you can smell the fuel from the planes, the exhaust, like, when we go outside here. Even if I open the window, and I can just smell it, it's really strong at certain times of the day, or when the planes have just flown over. And I've been using an air purifier also to help with allergies, because they do have allergies here, because a lot of people they planted non-native plants, because it would have been just like a dirt desert, but people wanted like to feel like they weren't in the desert when they moved to the desert, so they just planted a bunch of trees, and eventually they made it illegal to plant one of the trees, might have been a mulberry or something tree that a lot of people were allergic to, but I don't think it's anywhere near Austin levels of allergens. But yeah, I would not recommend, like, there's certain areas like Summerlin in the north, like the northwest. Yeah, I can use it.
Okay.
I can use a compass in the northwest. I'm trying to make sure my brain is like so Summerlin, which is in the north west of the city. That's also a more like posh area, but it's also kind of a soulless suburb with just there's a lot of strip malls and things like that here. Henderson is the other nice area. It's like suburb. I think some of that is also within that pollution area. So I think that's one reason it's probably maybe it's a good thing that this area is transient and people don't just live here their whole like there are people that live here for a long time, but yeah, I don't know. You know, when someone just like gets cancer and you're like, oh my God, like gets lung cancer and you're like, they didn't even smoke a day in their lives. Like, I think it's some stuff like that. Like, you know, nobody's being taught about this. There's an elementary school right by where we live. The university is right by here. All of that, like, that shows you that the city is set up for tourists and not for the people living here. So, I don't know. There needs to be more activism and community. We've gotten a little bit involved in the activist communities here. It's a lot smaller here, but there's some stuff going on. But yeah, take that stuff into consideration. You know, I think if you're just visiting for a short time, it's probably not going to matter too much. As my medical opinion, I think it's fine. But like for years and years, like you don't want to be exposed to that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we looked at the airport, like in addition to exhaust and chemicals and whatnot, I think it was also just like the noise is also like over years and years like can contribute. It's just like higher stress levels.
Yeah, I feel
cortisol
super
levels.
stressed
Yeah.
by this plane sounds because you
Right.
can hear it's super loud and the windows are really thin here. Like when we were in that Airbnb, I couldn't hear anything, but then we moved here and it was like you can hear everything. And I use earplugs and a noise machine, and you could still hear it. And it's just like I should record it out there so they can hear it. But
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we live in Paradise. Yeah, maybe 5 minutes from the airport, so pretty close.
that's not going to be true in like 4 days, thankfully.
Yeah, but
I'm
yeah.
leaving. Bye.
At
I
the
feel
mo-
bad for the people who are staying here and having all these issues, though.
Right. Yeah.
So if you live in Las Vegas, my recommendation would be to move. But at the same time, we're gonna say like we are still considering coming back, and then just like being careful around like where we are living and like how we're interacting with the community and like I don't know. I mean, I feel like we put ourselves out there, but like we've still been in the pandemic mode to some extent. So like I hope that this
Right.
trip is helping us to like come out of our shell and like really really live. I don't know. I somehow feel like I'm really living more when I'm in another country or another area. So
Mm-hmm. Right.
but if not, you can always just go hike to the top of the mountain and be in nature. And it's easy to be here. And like, I don't feel lonely here, even though like we don't, like, I feel like I'm somewhat isolated, but I feel good. Like, just have a good feeling being here for some reason. In LA or parts of California, I felt this loneliness at night sometimes. I don't know why. Like, even when I was living there, like, it just, I don't know what it is. But even though there's more people there that I actually do relate to and like, I don't know. I was part of the community more. Like I just feel like that sometimes. So it's an easy place to live in a lot of ways, but there's just a lot of problems associated with it as well. So I hope it's been helpful hearing about that, so you don't have to make the same mistake we made and continue to make.
It's not a mistake. I think you just have to, I don't know what to expect. I think, like, yeah, maybe the things that are issues for us are not issues for you.
Cancer.
Well,
Maybe
yeah.
if you're a human being, that stuff is going to be an issue.
Yeah,
But
that stuff will be, but like, I mean, yeah, it's an important consideration. There are areas in the city that are not that close to the airport, like Summerlin, like Henderson, like my new favorite town, Boulder City.
Oh right, I forgot about Boulder City.
Which is also like a really cool little small town, like maybe 30 minutes from downtown Las Vegas. But yeah, it feels like a very small town. It's right next to the Hoover Dam. But yeah, it has a good there's like a lot of shops, restaurants, antique stores. It has kind of like a retirement community kind of feel to it.
You miss Mexico. It was like we were the only people. I'd go to an
Yeah.
event and we'd be the only people under 60 there.
Right. Yeah, I think
Keeps you young.
right. Yeah, I think what I like about there and what I miss about where we're living currently is walking to places or being able to bike at least. And yeah, like Boulder City has that feel like you can just walk around. There's like a main street and like you can get at little shops and restaurants and everything is like close together. You don't have to like drive, get in a car. I feel like that's the thing that I miss the most about living in larger cities like San Francisco, or when we lived in Madrid, or Vallarta. Like it's easy enough to get around without a car.
Yeah.
Where here, yeah, you definitely need a car. Like most mid-sized cities in the U.S., I feel like you need a car just because the public transit options and the way the cities are laid out just don't don't encourage, I don't know, like walking, I guess.
Yeah, but that is
Yeah.
interesting, the repercussions for community on that, and like
Right.
how isolated it makes people with things like that.
Yeah, I think that's part of, like why suburbs feel like they have less of a community, because there is that lack of like a town center that everyone walks to. I think like malls were supposed to be that, but malls
Yeah.
feel kind of soulless, I feel like, and you still have to drive to the mall. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that is one thing that I miss about living in some other towns. So I think like, yeah, I mean there is some of that here if you do live like downtown Las Vegas, not the Strip, but like downtown Fremont area. I think it has a little bit more of that vibe, so that can be something. I think one of the reasons we didn't live there was noise, and also it's more expensive, and there's
no parks there.
Yeah, I was gonna say
This
there's
is
a
weird.
lack of green spaces, which I mean not even necessarily green because we're in Las Vegas,
desert
brown spaces, but yeah, just open park spaces, and yeah, the downtown area really doesn't have parks, which is weird, and there's some on the like around. But again, you have to drive to them. Like you can't just walk to the park.
That shows you how it was. I mean, but the downtown was built a lot earlier than the Strip today. Like that was the old Strip, so they've had a lot of time to develop it. Because I was going to be like, well, it developed fast and it spread out, because it didn't used to be that the airport was in the city. It was like over here, and then they built it into the airport as well. But yeah, it is very weird. But they are revitalizing, and they keep saying like this artist who met at First Friday. They keep saying Vegas is up and coming, and then she's like, but when is it going to like come up? Like it's in that constant state. But that's like a really cool, that's why I really love First Fridays. It reminded me of Oakland a little bit. It was kind of a gentrifying, and I mean, we can have a political talk about gentrification, I guess, but like it's, where there's like a space for art to kind of thrive in cities that are changing like that. So that's one thing that was really cool about it as well.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, for people that aren't familiar, First Friday is like a thing that's in some cities, but it's like a local art so there's an arts district here. It's and they just every first Friday of every month like all the art studios are open. There's a lot of vendors, food trucks, and music. Just like a fun time to go out. So yeah, definitely recommend that. If if you're here on a First Friday.
For non-tourist experience.
for a more local experience, for sure.
Yep.
But the park thing did remind me, like, I think one thing I do have liked about living here is the access to, like, local, like, state and national parks. Like, the Grand Canyon's only a couple of hours away. Death Valley's 3 hours. Zion National Park, which is probably my new favorite national park. I don't know. It's up there with Yosemite, but I mean, there's still a lot I've yet to visit. But it's definitely very, very pretty. And yeah, all that, like Zion is 3 hours, I think. There are a lot of like national parks that are easily accessible, and unlike California, like they're not like overrun with people. So you can actually like go and visit them and enjoy like actually be alone some of the time without like crowds and crowds of people, which is one thing that I remember from going to like state and national parks in California. That one downside, but I was trying to think of the state. I mean, there's Lake Mead. I guess if you like boating, otherwise there's not really a lot of reason to go there, I guess.
Did we go there?
We did go there.
The one with the fake beach where it's like rocks?
Yeah, we went to the fake beach, but it was all muddy. Yeah.
It has a really cool feel to it. I really liked that out there, actually.
Yeah. I mean, also the water level is much lower now. than historically. So yeah, I think the beaches are
It's getting
different.
depressing.
Oh no, okay. But yeah. I was trying to think of other parks in the area, but
and another pro being that we are very close to California, so I like going to LA, which is 4 hours drive, and I've stayed there. I said I was going to go there. Well, I said next year I was going to go there every single month. I don't know if that's really going to happen. And forgot to talk about the fact that we have been living separately, and that's something that I really likes, to have my own space, and it was a lot easier to do that here because of how comparatively cheap the rent was. Although in California you would just kind of like downsize and have like a very small studio, but here you can actually have like a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment for like around the cost that you'd have out there. So I don't know, got to be able to do that. Is that something that you, I don't know,
right, yeah, I mean,
also
I think
appreciated?
no, I did appreciate it. I mean, I think that was one of the factors when we were looking at cost of living, like what rent prices were. And yeah, Las Vegas, I mean, people living here have said the rents have gone up a lot compared to like what they were 5-10 years ago, and I definitely believe that. The city is growing pretty rapidly. I think it's one of the fastest growing cities in the U.S. So like housing prices are reflecting that. But yeah, it's still affordable enough for us to be able to afford the space and that we wanted, and the way that we wanted it. And yeah.
That's been our experience, living as nomads in Las Vegas, but actually living here. And our advice to you on whether you are here for a shorter time or actually living a longer term. Some of the things you might come across. What do you think? Anything for the outro? Anything we want to... anything we're supposed to say at the end of the YouTube video? Remember what we were supposed to say?
Smash that like button. No, smash the subscribe button. Can't remember. Smash one of them.
I would prefer subscribers
sure.
over like, because those likes aren't going to monetize
I think
the channel.
Hit that like button. I don't know. Don't have to turn on notifications though. That's annoying.
Yeah, I'm not sure who does that. I should look into that. You don't have to do it.
No.
If you want to. Like Dr. Kirk says on Psychology and Civil.
Right.
But it would make us happy if you did. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. This is me speaking, and I have a loud voice.